is a generally agreed principle that they are better off backing an entrepreneur who has failed and is willing to get up and try again than either a newbie entrepreneur or, perhaps worst of all, an entrepreneur who is yet to make or maybe realize their first mistakes. In my 10 years of creating and building a growth company, I learned more in the last 2 years than in the first 8. My first business grew from a £2K investment in a London back bedroom, with 2 partners, in 1999, to a £12 million valuation and 3 partners in 2007. 3. 100 rules for entrepreneurs. However, despite the excitement and massive learning curve that we all enjoyed in the first 8 years of growth, it was in the last 2 years of decline and subsequent closure that I really learned my entrepreneurial lessons. By August 2009, we took the decision to close the business, sell the assets and share out what remained. We walked away with nothing. Was it a waste of time? Absolutely not. What I discovered, mainly, indeed, by making mistakes, along with getting some things right, was of incalculable value. And so our first rule starts with just do it, because there is no substitute for putting down the business. 1. Just do it. The classic saying adapted from Lord Tennyson's in Memoriam, "It is better to have tried and failed than to have never tried," is well known. But, does it apply to entrepreneurs? Well, yes, only more so. Reading this book, you will either be an entrepreneur or would-be entrepreneur ready to start out on your own voyage of discovery and possible riches. If you are an entrepreneur, one who has had to battle through the past few years or many years, and is already battle-weary and wondering whether to continue with your current venture or life as an entrepreneur. Equally, you might be a wised-up entrepreneur who really has been there before, and has the scars of the failures and memories of the successes, and is just looking, as ever, to clarify and develop your understanding of your role in business. Among business angel and startup investors, it is a generally agreed principle that they are better off backing an entrepreneur who has failed and is willing to get up and try again than either a newbie entrepreneur or, perhaps worst of all, an entrepreneur who is yet to make or maybe realize their first mistakes. In my 10 years of creating and building a growth company, I learned more in the last 2 years than in the first 8. My first business grew from a £2K investment in a London back bedroom, with 2 partners, in 1999, to a £12 million valuation and 3 partners in 2007. 3. 100 rules for entrepreneurs. However, despite the excitement and massive learning curve that we all enjoyed in the first 8 years of growth, it was in the last 2 years of decline and subsequent closure that I really learned my entrepreneurial lessons. By August 2009, we took the decision to close the business, sell the assets and share out what remained. We walked away with nothing. Was it a waste of time? Absolutely not. What I discovered, mainly, indeed, by making mistakes, along with getting some things right, was of incalculable value. And so our first rule starts with just do it, because there is no substitute for putting down the business plan and just getting going, and no better way of learning. 4. 2. Learn from your mistakes. Booms are not always a good thing. If you are successful as an entrepreneur in a boom time, then it can be difficult to say how or why that success came about. With everyone being lifted up on a rising tide, the quality of the boat and the seamanship don't always seem to come into it. In a boom, all sorts of soft business models get funding and grow, and some are sold on to suckers who buy the story too, and everyone appears, generally, as successful as everyone else. And of course, in the narrowest sense, buy low and sell high before the market busts. Some are successful without being, strictly, successful. It is this that makes some entrepreneurs wake up with a cold sweat wondering, can I do it again? In fact, this is a problem for any successful entrepreneur who has never experienced failure. Can they do it again? Did the only ever successful entrepreneur achieve that success because they were lucky or because they were omnipotent? And indeed, many entrepreneurs who have been successful, without failure, or perhaps not enough tough lessons along the way, have a tendency to believe that they truly are great and cannot fail. But they can. Look at what happened to these highly successful entrepreneurs, who perhaps enjoyed too much success. Robert Maxwell, who overextended his publishing empire and resorted to taking from his pension funds to keep it afloat, or Ted Turner of Warner, and his disastrous decision to buy AOL, which lost him $8 billion. The rules. 5. 100 rules for entrepreneurs. So, if you hit turbulence and failure early on in your entrepreneurial journey, consider it a gift, and one from which you can cement your humbleness and willingness to listen to others, yet at the same time retain a steely determination to make it happen. no matter what. It is the error and the painful process of correction that teaches us that we are not King Midas. Not everything we touch will turn to gold. It is so much better that way. The errors in our own history make us open to new ideas, open to unusual ways of doing things, and yet, at the same time, stubborn and unyielding on those issues that really, truly count. 6. 3. Never blame the market. Some people take the view that businesses that fail in a harsh climate fail because of the climate. I disagree. Businesses that fail in these conditions, like my first business, still fail for the same reason. Mistakes made in the past catch up with the business and overwhelm it. The harsh market conditions, or perhaps the abruptness of the change, have simply served to bring those errors into focus. The fact that those errors were made in the first place remains the responsibility of the original entrepreneur. The entrepreneur gets to decide who succeeds them, or if they give shares away, and to whom and on what conditions. If the conditions they put in place led to the appointment of a weak CEO that destroys the company, the fault still lies with the entrepreneur. He or she once had the power to prevent it. If a line manager or profit and loss (P&L) manager messes up and brings down the company, then it remains your fault for hiring them or giving them authority or powers they were not able to exercise effectively. You can't escape and blame the market or anything or anyone else for that matter. You are at the end of the error trail of responsibility. This is actually a good thing. You have more control over your success than you think. Never blaming the market goes hand in hand with the very essence of being an entrepreneur, paving your own way, driving your own success, building your own great business. So don't fall for the excuse. The Rule 7. 100 Rules for Entrepreneurs. 4. Take care of yourself. If you can't get rich right now, concentrate on getting fit and healthy. Your business begins with you and will end, hopefully, with a successful sale, or a claimed retirement, with you. You are effectively the captain of a ship. You must decide where you will sail, how to sail, and who exactly you want on board. And, if the boat begins to sink, you will almost certainly be the last to leave. Staff and team members, like hands on deck, may come and go. You will get supplied from various ports, but it will always be your ship, and, as such, you need to take care of yourself in order to be able to take care of the business or boat, and so get your crew safely home again, hopefully arriving better for the experience. You have to hold it together and you must look after yourself, even if your business takes a sharp downturn, even if creditors are pounding at the door. Keep exercising regularly. You'll need this to get rid of the stress. I've learned that the best advice for entrepreneurs is given out every time you catch a flight. The steward on the aircraft will always tell you, in case of loss of oxygen, put your own mask on first, and only then assist those next to you who may have trouble doing so. Looking after yourself is not selfish, as many people wrongly think. It is the best way to look after the people around you. If you aren't on your game, you will only let others down. 8. 5. Know yourself. Knowing yourself could be a whole book in itself, but here I have a very particular meaning in mind. For instance, if you find failure or disappointment hard to deal with, then you need to be aware of this and have a plan on how you will cope with the inevitable setbacks and delays that you will experience. If you are easily distracted, then find a way to balance this by becoming meticulous in setting goals and reviewing those goals to ensure you are on track. If you enjoy some things but not others, then learn to find people who are good at, and enjoy, the things you don't enjoy, and probably are. In all cases, knowing whether you are a natural business sprinter, that is lots of quick energy early on but fade quickly, or a business marathon, steady approach which gets there in the end, will help you manage your own expectations. In fact, probably the biggest challenge we face is managing our own expectations, and that is why it is important to know yourself, both so that you can set attainable and inspiring goals, and take practical steps to accomplish them. Your weaknesses. Many entrepreneurs are not able or not willing, some are neither, to make the shift from doer to delegator, and hence in the early the rules. 9. 100 Rules for Entrepreneurs. Days of an enterprise. There won't be enough delegation. At some point, the entrepreneur will realize this, usually when working 9 days a week, and then begin an urgent hunt for a professional hard-nosed CEO or general manager. Recruiting the right management is critical to growing a business, and without it the enterprise will remain a wonderful, but permanently single-person consultancy. However, recruiting senior management into your business is extremely difficult and highly risky. If you recognize that recruiting such management for none of us are born with it, then your solution is to sell your ideas early, once you have proven the basic concept. So, After the first phase of creating the idea and proving it with the pilot, your next step is to become either an excellent recruiter of talent or a great seller of fledgling businesses. Now, you may be tempted to sell a fledgling business, until I tell you that you will sell it for thousands of pounds instead of millions. But selling early might still be the right decision. Never let greed push you further into the business's growth than you can go, or know you can go after some honest reflection on your strengths, preferences and weaknesses. Make the decision not on the money on the table or lack of it, but based on your knowledge of what you are good at, and conversely, not so good at. Even if you continue,